Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Chanukah Sameach. Thank you very much for joining our daily Shiur here at Chabad of Rechavia. And thank you once again to Raya and Mordechai Meltz that are helping us making this video possible. Today, we are going to be discussing a bit about the miracles of Chanukah. I know it's a very special Chag. And one of the things that makes this Chag so special is the idea of light. We all like light because light makes things clearer. So what we're going to do today is tell the story of Chanukah. We're going to be discussing the miracles that happened on this Chag, and we have, interestingly enough, we have 3 miracles that happened on those days, and Chassidus explains them, the idea of the miracle. And not only the idea of the miracle, but what is the source of the miracle in the spheres above. This is a topic that's always interesting. Where do the miracles come from? What is the idea of a miracle? So I would like to open with a joke. You've probably heard it, but I'll repeat it. There was once a person that was looking for a place to park. He was looking for a parking space, and he was going around a place like Rechavia, where it's pretty hard to find parking. So he was going all around, and he has a business meeting in 3 minutes. He's got to make it on time. He turns to Hashem and he says, Hashem, if I'll find a place to park, I'll put on tefillin today. As he ends his prayer to Hashem, he sees a car backing out, and there's a perfect parking space. So he returns back to Hashem and he tells him, Hashem, don't worry, I'm sorted out. This is a bit about, it can show us a bit about a type of a miracle that we can find, because there are nisim in Chazal. They describe it as nisim hamelubashim beteva, and there's nisim that are lamayla me'ateva, which means some miracles are not really miracles because they are hidden in the nature. And the truth is that the nature itself is one big miracle. The fact that the sun shines every morning and that the human body functions every morning, that is also a miracle. But because it's a continuous miracle, this miracle goes on and on and on repeatedly. So in our eyes, we don't notice it as a miracle. We don't see it as a miracle anymore. Just like that person that saw the car backing out and he said, well, that's not a miracle, that happens. It could happen. So the idea of the miracles in general are that Hashem wants to show us that actually the nature itself is a miracle. But if we wouldn't have any interesting miracle that would have occurred and happened to us, we wouldn't learn from that to our day-to-day life. That's the reason that Hashem does miracles in the first place. A miracle is here to remind us once again that Hashem is the one that actually runs the world. But because we can't see that in our daily lives, therefore Hashem chooses special occasions, and even in individual lives, to be a miracle for all of Am Yisrael. It could be for someone personally, and many of us can remember in our lives certain times where miraculous things happened to us, and that taught us a lesson for our entire existence. So let's dive into Chanukah and let's learn a bit about the Chag. It's a very interesting Chag, and we can count 3 different miracles that happened during this Chag. The first miracle we know was in the times of the Greeks, and the Greeks ruled Eretz Yisrael. They were in control. They were an empire. Basically, they ruled the whole world. And one of the places that they also controlled was Eretz Yisrael. And they knew that they've got to fight the spirit of the Jewish people. The spirit of the Jewish people, there's something about it that isn't going to give them long-term, to stay here for the long term in Israel. Because there's something about the Jewish spirit, and that's why they fought the Jewish spirit. They didn't mind the Jews praying to Hashem in general. They had a problem with the holiness and the purity of the Jewish people, the way that they had a special laws and special minhagim about all kinds of things that didn't make sense. Things that did not make sense, that was the problem that the Greeks had with the Jewish people. Things that made sense, such as all the logical mitzvahs, the Greeks didn't even mind. So they basically, they fought the Jewish people, and out of the Jews, there was this group called the Hashmonaim, and the Hashmonaim decided to fight back. They decided to fight back, and there was a whole rebellion, and we all know the story. That was a big nitzachon to the Ma'atim, to the fewer, and against the Yevanim, which were the Rabbim, and they were much more Giborim, they were much more powerful. It was an empire. So that was the first nes that we learn about in Chanukah. Now this nes is called a nes that is hidden in the nature, in the teva. Because when there's a fight, there is a chance that the weaker person will actually win. After the weaker person wins, we don't say, well, oh, what a miracle. Yes, there is a miracle here, but this is not a miracle that's extraordinary. It does not change the rules of nature. The rules of nature are that, that if you fight, there is a chance that a weaker person can win. It is something that's not obvious, and that's why we celebrate it as a nes. Do you know when this nes happened? Chaf Daled B'Kislev. One day before Chanukah, they actually beat the Yevanim and they chased them out of Eretz Yisrael. And that's why they were able to walk into the Beis HaMikdash, into the Holy Temple, and find the Pach Shemen, find that small bottle of Shemen that was hidden. But that was the actual first nes. And this is something that we do talk about, and that's the whole Ala Nisim. The Ala Nisim that we say every day, 3 times a day at least, in the davenings and also in the Seudos, that doesn't talk about the nes of Pach Hashem. It doesn't talk about finding the oil, does not talk about the oil lasting for 8 days. It talks about the nes of actually beating the Yevanim in war. So this is the first nes, and this nes is a nes, remember, that is hidden in the nature. There isn't something too special about it. Let's go on to the second nes. So after the Jewish people enter Beis HaMikdash, they just chased away the Yevanim from Eretz Yisrael, and they're all very excited, and they want to put back things in order. So there's a whole story about how they searched for the Shemen, and they found one small bottle of oil that was pure. The rest was not pure. The Yevanim, or they spilt it, the Yevanim, or what they did was, interestingly enough, but it's also something weird. The Yevanim, imagine, all they did was they took these bottles of Shemen, and they didn't spill the entire bottle. They made it unpure. What they did is they cut it open, or they touched it with their hands, and that made the oil unpure. Again, the Yevanim didn't have a problem with lighting a menorah. It's a very nice thing to light a menorah. What a special vessel! What an amazing idea to shine light to the world. They had a problem with calling it pure shemen, pure oil. Why does it have to be something holy, something that no one touched? What is the difference? What is the difference if we touch the oil or we don't touch the oil? It's the same oil, or we'll light in the exact same way. The Jews come up with this idea of holiness, of purity. And that's the problem that the Yevanim had with the Shemen. And that's why it doesn't say the Shiur Kol Hashmani. Timul Kol Hashmani means they made it tameh. They made it unpure. They did not go and spill it. They said, you would like to light up the menorah? Perfect. We'll even provide oil. But don't come up with these holy ideas and these special ideas of something that is pure and something that we can't touch, and it has to be sealed with the chotemes of the Kohen Gadol. They didn't accept that. So this is the second miracle that happened. What day did that happen? Chavhei Bekislev, the 25th day of Kislev. That was the day that they found this small bottle of oil. Let's go on. Now this miracle also, let's just talk about a bit this miracle, because this miracle has a logic to it on the one side, because it can be that you'll find oil. This isn't something that breaks nature's rules. Once again, like the wall, it did not break the nature. It did not contradict any of the laws of physics or the laws of chemistry. All it did was something, wow, they only found one bottle of shemen, not more. So that is also a miracle. It's even a higher miracle than the wall, because imagine, there were thousands of bottles all around of the oil, but only one was kept sealed. So it was a coincidence that shows that there's a big miracle over here, that the Yavanim did not find it. They were not able to metame it. They kept it there, was hidden somewhere. And the second miracle is that they actually could find it. So we have here basically a double miracle. Again, it's within the laws of nature, but it's already a bit higher than the nace, the miracle of actually winning the war. So again, we've got one miracle, which was on Chavdalet Kislev, the 24th day of Kislev, which was winning the war. That is a miracle that is hidden in the teva, in the nature. We've got a second miracle that is a bit higher than the first one that happened on Chavhei Kislev. That was finding that bottle of oil that was still pure. Now we come to the biggest miracle. The biggest miracle was the miracle that the shemen, that amount of oil, lasted for 8 days. It was supposed to last just for 1 day. But instead, Hashem made a miracle, and it lasted for the entire 8 days until they were able to reproduce new oil. And that's what the Gemara goes and describes. The Gemara in Masechtas Shabbos talks about the process of actually making new oil. It wasn't such a simple thing. They had to find the right olives. They had to do the whole process in a pure way, etc., etc. And that's why the biggest miracle was the miracle that it actually lasted 8 days. And why is that? Because this is a miracle that breaks the laws of the nature. This miracle is a special miracle that changes nature. It's not like the war where it could be that the weak person will win. It's not even like the finding of the pach shemen, of that small bottle of oil, because that could also happen. But it's impossible, according to nature, that oil will last for 8 days when there's only the quantity of 1 day. So that is why the ness of Chanukah, this part of the ness, is such a special ness. Once again, because it broke the laws of nature. If you've got only a small amount of oil, according to nature, it can only last for 1 day. That's what we are really celebrating. Now, when did that nest start? So that nest did not start on Chavhei Kislev, and we know that there's a very famous question of the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef, he was one of the Mefarshim on the tour. Basically, what happened is that after the Gemara, the Talmud, the rabbis wanted to bring out a specific halacha. Halacha l'maisa, what should someone do? I've got a she'ela, I've got a question, and if I open the Gemara, so I might get confused according to who is the halacha. And Rabbi Yosef Karo, who lived probably around about 600 years ago, he basically he was the one that wrote the Shulchan Aruch. What we today paskin halacha from is from the Shulchan Aruch, and he has also a perush on the Tur, which was the source to the Shulchan Aruch. So he writes in the Beis Yosef a famous question, and there are over 300 answers to that question. And you are also welcome to think of an interesting answer if you have. You can write it or to me, or you can write it on our page on Facebook. We are now live. And this question is as follows. We know that we celebrate 8 days of Chanukah. Why do we celebrate 8 days? We started on Thursday night, and we're going to go on for 8 days. Why is it 8 days of Chanukah? So we all know because of the fact that the oil lasted for 8 days, and that was a huge miracle. But wait a second, says the Beis Yosef. Naturally, the oil could last for 1 day without any miracles, because the amount, the quantity was a chatzi lug, half a lug, which was a certain measurement that was enough for the entire menorah. And that lasted naturally without any special miracles. So the miracle was that it lasted for an additional 7 days, not for 8 days. The first day, that was absolutely natural. There wasn't a nest, there wasn't a miracle behind it. It was something simple. So of course, there's the quantity. For 1 day, they for sure would have had good shemen. The miracle was that there was additional 7 days. So why do we celebrate 8 days? That's a question that there are 300, probably they said 300 answers to. And you're also welcome to think of an answer. Maybe we celebrate something else on the first day. The Rebbe has also an answer in Likutei Sichos, a very interesting answer that explains the whole miracle. But let's go back to our topic. So once again, we are talking about 7 days, at least 7 days, that were miracles that were above nature, that they broke the rules of nature. And that started not on Chaf Hey, started on Chaf Vav. And like the Beis Yosef says in his question, that the first day, that was obvious that the menorah would light. So we've got this third nest that happened on Chaf Vav B'Kislev. So these are the 3 big nisim that happened, and we said that they are also hinted, and the Rebbe explains the idea behind the nisim. What is the source to each nest? Where do these nisim come from? In words of Kabbalah and in words of Hasidus. So let's go according to the dates. Let's start with what is the idea of the miracle? It wasn't a miracle that broke the laws of nature. All it was an interesting coincidence that if you think of it, you'll come to a conclusion that there has to be a miracle over there. But it's up to your thinking. Because if I tell you there was 2 people that fought a war and one won, well, you'll say, yes, that's what happens in every war. Okay, so the weaker person won, but that's not something extraordinary. That's why we have to think and use our minds to understand, wait, it was against an empire. That empire was the Greeks. They were enormous, they were strong. And after that, you say, well, it must be that Hashem made a miracle. That is Chaf Dalet. What is Chaf Dalet according to Kabbalah? Chaf Dalet according to Kabbalah is the 24 letters that we say every day. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay Le'olam Voed. Those are the 24 letters that we mention every time in Kriyat Shema. We have the first pasuk in Kriyat Shema, which is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That is 25 letters, and we soon are going to get to that. But let's start with the next pasuk that we say, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Le'olam Voed. The idea of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Le'olam Voed is that we have 24 letters, and that we are crowning Hashem, accepting him as our king, but on a lower level, on a level where we relate to nature. We connect to nature, and from the nature itself, we make a calculation and we come to the conclusion that Hashem is the creator. That is the lower level of Achdus Hashem. That's the words in Hasidus. Yichuda Tatar. It's a well-known subject in Kabbalah that talks about the fact that Hashem is one. Hashem is the only thing that really exists. But we do see that we live in the world and there's a world around us. So how does that fit with the idea that Hashem is actually one in the world? We've got to use our minds. We've got to fight a war. We use our minds to make a calculation that there's got to be a creator to the world. The world did not just happen as an accident, or did not just create itself. There's got to be someone that actually created it. But that's the lower level of Achdus Hashem, of the unity of Hashem, that Hashem is only one. That's the lower level. And that's Chaf Dalet, that's the 24 letters that we have in Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchus Elolam Voed. And that is connected to the miracle that happened on Chaf Dalet Kislev, the 24th day of Kislev, which was the lowest miracle that happened, or the miracle that was mostly connected to the nature. That was the firstness, and that is Yehuda Tatar. Out of the names of Hashem, so it connects to the name Elohim. We know that Hashem has many names. There's Tzvais, there's Ka, there's Eheyeh Asher Eheyeh, there's Yud Kei Vav Kei, and there's Shem Elohim. Elohim, if you would take the gematria, the numeric value of the word Elohim, it will be the exact same value of the word Ha-Teva, the nature. Because the name of Elohim is the one that actually keeps the nature going. The fact that the sun actually rises every day, and not every night, is because that there is a name of Hashem, the Shem Elohim, that is the one to give power and koyach to the sun to actually rise every morning. This is Shem Elohim, is connected to 24, which is connected to the miracle of winning the war. Let's go now to the miracle of finding the bottle of oil. That miracle happened what date? Chafhei Bekislev, the 25th day of Kislev. And remember, 25 is the amount of letters that we have in the pasuk Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. 25 letters over there. Wow. This shows us that we are already talking about a higher miracle, a higher level of connection to Hashem, a higher source to this ness. What is the idea of Shema Yisrael? Shema Yisrael is basically to show that Hashem is one. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem is one in the entire world, and we don't even relate to the world itself. We don't even make a whole calculation. How could it be that the world exists? Where do we have the powers to wake up every morning and to start our day and to get moving and to go to work and to daven, of course, and to learn and to eat? And the fact that the world around us is such a magnificent book, we don't have to make this whole calculation and say, oh, that shows us that Hashem is a creator. No. Our neshama automatically knows that Hashem is the creator. It's connected to Hashem because it's a chelek Eloka mimal mamash. It's part of Hashem. This is the idea of Yehuda Ilah. This is a higher level in the unity of Hashem, in the oneness of Hashem. The idea that Hashem is one isn't a result of our calculations that we make in our heads, but it's a fact that lies in our neshama. It's part of us. We don't need to do all these calculations. And this is the idea of 25. This is the idea of 25, and this is the idea of finding the pach shemen, that bottle of oil that was left out of all the bottles that existed before, is a special miracle. It's a miracle where Hashem doesn't relate to the norms of the world, to the rules of the world. And the name of Havayeh, the pasuk Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, is to show how Hashem controls the world. And if Hashem controls the world, so of course we would go and find the Pach Shem. And if Hashem would want that, we don't need to be connected to the laws of the nature and win a war. This is something that's already higher than the regular laws of nature. Now let's go to the highest level of the miracle. We just spoke about it. We spoke about the idea that the third nest was a nest that happened. What date did it start? The Beis Yosef tells us that it started on Chavav, the 26th day of Kislev. Chavav b'Kislev, because the first day, as we said, that was nature. The oil was enough. Started on Chavav b'Kislev 26. What is 26? 26 is the numeric value, the gematria of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. Wow. This is even a higher level in the unity of Hashem. This is a higher level of our connection to Hashem. This is also a higher level of the way that Hashem manages the world. Hashem is in contact with the world all the time, but he has various names, he has various tools and various ways to actually relate to the world. He's got the Shem Elokim, which is the nature, and then he lets things go according to the laws of nature. He has Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, which is called Havaya de Lesato. The lower level of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei is the level that Hashem relates to the world, but does not relate to the world. And that caused the finding of the Pach Shemen, of that bottle of oil. But then there is the highest name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei Havaya de Le'ela. That is the expression that is brought in Kabbalah. And this is even higher than Yichuda Ilah. This is the highest version of the unity of Hashem, of the oneness of Hashem, where Hashem can do whatever he wants in the world. Hashem doesn't go at all according to the laws of nature. Hashem can say, this small amount of oil can last for 8 days, it can last for 7 days, and it can last even for 10 or 20 days. He decided that it would last for these 8 days. But Hashem is using here a special power or a special connection to the world to show how the laws of nature do not exist at all. This is the highest kind of a miracle. This is the highest oneness and unity of Hashem that we can find. Because we said before that, how could it be that there's a creator? We see the world around us and we say, well, there's got to be a creator because things don't happen from themselves. Yeah, we have a proof that the world doesn't even have an existence because Hashem can come and change it. We're used to the fact that oil lasts for 1 day, and here Hashem comes and shows us, no, it can last for 8 days. So Hashem is using a special power, a special relationship with us. And this is why Chanukah is such a special time. Because Chanukah is a special time because we feel the light of Hashem. When Hashem comes close to us and he relates to us with this idea of a miracle that's above nature, this is something special. This is something that we should embrace, and we should feel connected to Hashem on this high level. This is the real idea of Chanukah, and this is why it's such a special Chag. Because not only that we know that Hashem controls the nature, and when we fight a war, Hashem will always make sure that we'll win. Not only that Hashem connects to us and makes sure that we'll find the exact thing that we need, like we were able to find the bottle of oil, but Hashem actually changes laws of nature for us. He makes the oil last not for 1 day, but for 8 full days. And now just to conclude, maybe this will give a bit of an explanation to the question of the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef asked a very interesting question. He said, well, the first day was pure nature. So why do we celebrate 8 days? We should celebrate 7 days. And you're all welcome to think of an answer yourselves, because there are plenty of answers to this question. But just according to this Maimar, we can maybe explain a very interesting answer. The idea of 8 days is that Hashem connected to us on a higher level throughout these entire 8 days. You're right. Technically, the oil would last for 1 day. But what Hashem did here was he changed the laws of nature. And when he changed the laws of nature, he connected to us on a higher level than nature. And he connects to us in a special way. And this connection is something that lasted for 8 days. So technically, the oil wasn't a miracle on the first day. But the connection to Hashem was. Hashem decided that I'm going to connect to the Jewish people on this day on a higher level. That is basically the idea of the miracles of Chanukah. So to summarize, we had 3 different miracles on this special Chag. First miracle was winning the war. The second miracle was finding the Pach Shemen. And the third miracle was actually that the Shemen lasted for 8 days. These 3 miracles are 3 levels in the unity of Hashem. They are 3 levels, the way that Hashem connects to us. Hashem can connect to us in a natural way. He can connect to us in a natural that is mixed with unnatural. And he can connect to us with his special way, which is above the laws of nature. So enjoy this Chag. This is a very special Chag. And thank you very much for attending the Shiur. This is a Chag that is full of light. And Bezrat Hashem, you should all have a happy Chanukah and lots of light. Thank you very much.